right. Hey, guys. Wow, had a bit of a technical difficulty there. I thought that we had started the stream 10 minutes ago, and I hadn't pressed the start button. So that's all right. Let's just make sure that everything's rolling here. Yeah, we're good. All right. Oh, it's early in the morning for me, I guess. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I am Shaun. For anybody who doesn't know me, if this is your first time, welcome. I see some familiar people in the chat. Rosa is there. Yeah, Navjot Singh is there. Zara, Yaprak, Heatsnow. Wow, TR Tranwiz? Is that how I say your name? Tranwiz. Hello, how are you? Yeah, wow, that was a weird way to start the stream. Steve Lynn's back. Good to see you guys. I was wondering, I was talking here. I had the camera on, and I was saying hello, and nobody was talking to me, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. But apparently, I just hadn't started the stream. I thought everyone was ignoring me, but that's okay. Thomas, hey, how are you? All right, so hi everybody. Thursday morning for me. Whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me. As I said, I'm Shaun. I'll be your teacher for the next hour. I'm coming at you live from Vancouver, Canada, okay? From the Canadian College of English Language in Vancouver, in our studio here. Coming at you, Clara Martinez. Hey, how are you? And of course, as usual, we have Zach, our friendly moderator. He's in there somewhere. Zach, show yourself if you're out there. And for anybody who's new, if you have questions at all during this class, if you have questions, comments, whatever, put them in the chat. Zach will get them to me, or I will see them, and we'll try to answer your questions as clearly, as quickly, as often as we can. Hajar from Algeria. Raouf Salam is here. Hello, he says. All right. So welcome everybody. Yeah, let's jump into it here, okay? I'm ready. I'm excited. What are we going to do today? All right, so today is actually kind of like a continuation. It's like a part 2 of last week's class. Navjot is saying hi, hello, back to you. So last week we talked about intensifiers, right? We talked about mostly adverbs that you can add to a sentence to make your sentence stronger, more emphatic, to enhance what you're saying, right? Not changing the meaning itself, but just, yeah, giving a little bit of punch to your sentences, right? And this is what we're going to continue with today. Because, I mean, I like teaching grammar as much as the next guy. Grammar is good. It's important. But it's also important, as I've said in many classes before, we've talked about this before, of trying to make your use of the language interesting. And sometimes it's important to look at the little things that we do with a language to make a sentence stronger, more emphatic, something like that. Okay, so last week, just a little brief recap, we talked about, as I said, intensifiers, meaning adverbs that enhance or strengthen the adjective that it goes with. So we talked about words like very and really and that kind of stuff. But we also talked about a scene like this being indescribably beautiful, right? Indescribably being an intensifier. You guys are deliriously happy to see me, of course. Well, it's right back at you, yeah? So deliriously happy, intensifier from Navjot. That's good. All right, indescribably beautiful, incredibly talented, right? This is an incredibly talented artist, I guess, yeah? Okay, and I think another one, I'll give you one more sentence. You said something like, even during the busiest lunch rush, Dan always remained perfectly calm, perfectly calm. Anwar, hey, how are you? Welcome. All right, so these are intensifiers, but we're not going to talk too much about intensifiers today, but we are going to talk about emphasis, okay? As I said, I want to be able to give you some emphasis, to give some punch to your sentences, right? Now sometimes, like these Like these bad boys here, the chili pepper, sometimes a little bit goes a long way. You just need a little bit of spice, a little bit of pepper, and it heats up the whole pot of whatever you're doing, right? And it's the same thing in English. Sometimes a really small word can just elevate the sentence a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about today. These common little words that make your use of the language a little bit more interesting. Rose is asking, do intensifier adverbs always end with Y? Well, good question. I don't really, I'm usually careful of the word always when it comes to language, Rosa. So I won't say always, but I'll say almost always. They very often will end with a Y. Off the top of my head, I can't think of an intensifier that doesn't. Well, except for last week we talked about brand new, right? New, brand new. Brand, in that case, being an intensifier. So that's an example of an intensifier without Y or ly. Good question. Ravi loves chili. Good. Well, I wish I was here I wish we were talking more about chili today, but sadly this is where the chili talk ends. Maybe I'll teach you how to make a good pot of chili next class, maybe. But for now, we're talking about little words, and some of them you are very familiar with. These are words that you see all over the place. So some of this stuff that I talk about today, you may already know. Hopefully some of it is a little bit new. Islam Benadel asking if you're late, you're a little bit late, but you haven't missed much yet. You're just in time. Don't worry about it. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's talk about these words. Where I want to start is with these guys, even and own, right? Two words that you see a lot in English, and you may even use them yourself. But it's worth talking about them every once in a while to really analyze how we use them and why we use them. Alvaro from Chile. Hi, everybody. Cool. All right, so let's look at some examples. Wow, she's shocked here. Shocking. Some example sentences. He had changed so much, his sister didn't recognize him. Now, this sentence, there's nothing wrong with this sentence. Today, we're not really looking at correct or incorrect so much. We're looking at adding things to make the sentence a little bit more emphatic. So this sentence is good. He had changed so much, his sister didn't recognize him. That's good. But how do you make it a little bit stronger? You can add little words in there, right? Like this. He had changed so much, his own sister didn't recognize him, right? Just that little word, his own sister didn't recognize him, makes it a little bit stronger. Now again, a really good example, of unnecessary words, right? Because the word own does not change the meaning of the sentence. It's really not necessary to be there at all. But again, it does add a little bit something to the sentence. Now, Navjot here in the chat is one step ahead of me because you could also add something else to that. Now, I'm going to come back to this sentence in a minute. Now, give you another example. This guy says, I've always wanted to own my own business. I like this sentence because of the two owns together, right? Own my own business. Well, if you own it, of course it is your own business, right? But we say that all the time. I want to own my own home, right? I'd like to own my own car, whatever, right? Again, in this case, this own, not necessary. I want to own a business. That's fine, but my own business adds emphasis to it, okay? Important to know the difference between these two owns, though, obviously. The first own, that own being an adjective and the other one being a verb, right? Okay. This poor guy. Now we talk about own, now we talk about even. Even, one of the most common unnecessary words in English. We use it all over the place, all the time. Sol is here. Hi, Sol. Alexandra's here. Cool. All right, so I can't afford a bicycle. Well, that's too bad. Bicycles shouldn't be too expensive, right? So sometimes you might want to add something like this. I can't even afford a bicycle. All right. Zach, you're late? Wow. Okay. So I can't even afford a bicycle, right? Again, the word even, not necessary, but it makes this sentence a little bit more emphatic, right? And we're going to come back to this sentence too. Now, obviously, you can combine the two. And as I said, Navjot was ahead of me here. This sentence that we said here, his own sister didn't recognize him, you can add even there. He had changed so much, even his own sister didn't recognize him. Again, two words that are unnecessary, making it stronger, right? And the word even, you can move that around too. You don't have to put it there. You could say even his own sister, or you can say his own sister didn't even recognize him, right? So weird little words that we use in English all over the place. Yeah, you guys missed Zach? Yeah, long time no see. Selma's here, cool. Hey, Selma. So, his own sister didn't even recognize him. Own and even, we use them all the time. They're everywhere. And I suggest you try to do that too. And a little bit later, I'm going to get you guys to do some practice for me, okay? But we've got lots of little words to talk about. So there's own and there's even. There's also this guy. Suresh is from India. Hey, Suresh, Vishnoi, welcome. So alone is another word that we use to emphasize something, right? Very similar to words like just or only. Now look at this sentence here, this poor guy. The length of the exam alone terrified even, oh, there's even, the most prepared students, right? So the length of the exam alone terrified even the most prepared students. Tranwiz is saying, he had changed so much his own sister didn't recognize him. Isn't that a comma splice? Yeah, I would say, I don't know if I would necessarily say that's a comma splice. I would say the difference there, Tranwiz, is that in that second clause, his own sister, we've actually taken away the word that. It actually means that his own sister didn't recognize him. So technically, it's not a complete clause in itself. You could take that comma out of there. I just like it in there for clarity. Good question. Right. So again, in this case, the word alone, not necessary. You don't have to say alone. The length of the exam terrified the most prepared students. But we use the word alone to emphasize the word length, meaning it was a very difficult exam. The content of the exam was difficult, but even if the content was easy, the test was so long that it scared people, all right? So the length of the test alone. Again, this poor guy can't even afford a bicycle. We often use alone with the word let. We say, I can't afford a bike, let alone a car, right? I can't afford a bike, let alone a car. Yeah, Zach just sent me that question. I think I already answered that one, okay? So in this combination, we often start with a little thing and then a bigger thing, right? So someone asks you, well, why don't you buy a car? And you say, I can't afford a bike, let alone a car, right? It's a very common way of answering a question or responding to a comment, right? You have, for example, let me jump out of here for a second. I'm going to go here, go to some notes, just to make this clear for everybody. All right, I'm going to go up here. Your friend says to you, what they're going to say, maybe your friend says, I'm thinking about adopting a child, right? Maybe I might adopt a child, or I might have a kid. But you know your friend is not a very responsible person. So you might say something like, you can't even take care of a houseplant, let alone a child, right? Not a very nice thing to say to your friend, but maybe if they need reality. Now, Clara, you're asking this question, and I think this is hopefully helping you, right? Let me get that out of there. So you can't even take care of a houseplant, let alone a child. So you say one smaller thing, and then the kind of the more serious thing after that. Let alone is similar to not to mention. Yeah, right. It's along the same lines as that, right? Absolutely. Someone says, "Oh, you should get married." You say, "I don't want a boyfriend, let alone a husband." For example, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how you feel about romance, but these are examples of how you use this let alone. Start with the smaller thing, the houseplant, then go to the child, right? Very, very useful when responding to questions or comments from your friends, right? And probably more conversational than formal English, all right? Let's jump back in here. So this guy says, "I can't afford a bike, let alone a car." The poor guy, all right? And yeah, we can even add even. We can even add even to these sentences. See, the word even is everywhere. And how about one more, and then I'm going to get you guys to do some practice for me. Luciano is here. Hey, thanks for joining. Enough. Enough is another one of these sometimes unnecessary words that we put into our sentences, like, uh-oh, amazingly, no one was hurt in the accident. Well, that's good. That's a relief, right? Amazingly, no one was hurt in the accident. You can add enough and say, amazingly enough, no one was hurt in the accident. It doesn't change the meaning. It just adds a little bit to it. Revi asking, why did you use the exclamation point in the second sentence? What was my second sentence? I don't want a boyfriend, let alone a husband. Well, maybe I use this exclamation point because maybe this is an argument. I'm not exactly sure why I use this, Ravi. Probably because both of these sentences seem very emphatic, right? You could also add an exclamation point here if you wanted to, right? Someone says, I'll babysit your child for you. So you can't even take care of a plant, let alone a child, right? Jesus is saying, I don't have enough money. Yeah, me neither. Who does? That's the question. Who has enough money? Right? So amazingly enough. Now, the difference, Jesus, there, saying, I don't have enough money, that's really just a way of quantifying the money you have. In this case, the word enough doesn't really have a meaning. It just emphasizes it. Let me show you one more example. Yeah, Tran was saying it shows emotion for the exclamation point. Absolutely. Again, going back to this poor guy here, I like this sentence. The length of the exam alone, right? So we said terrified even the most prepared students. We're going to change this a little bit and say the length of the exam alone was enough to terrify even the most prepared students. Jayan is back. Hey, Jayan, how are you? Jayan was my student probably, what, like 7 years ago? 6 or 7 years ago here in Vancouver. So if you anybody watching, if you have questions about how amazing our school is, you can ask Jayan. Okay? Yeah, so Steve Lynn says, amazingly enough, my English has become much better since I joined this class. Well, yeah, that's good. That is amazing. Yeah? Good for you. And good example. So in this case, you're saying the word alone, right? The length of the exam alone, then was enough, and even. All of these words in there. Alone, even, and enough. Very emphatic sentence. Okay? Yeah. All right, so the length of the exam alone was enough to terrify even the most prepared students. What a beautiful sentence that is. Okay? So far, really, we're just talking about even, own, alone, and enough. And I think that's enough because I would like you guys to do something for me, okay? So maybe if Mr. Zach, Mr. Moderator, can put that link into the chat, all right, so everybody can open that up. Oh, actually, hang on. I'm getting so excited that I forgot about 2. All right, Zach, you can put the link in there if you want to, but there are these 2 words that I want to talk about first, okay? One and very. Again, Steve Lynn, the length of the test, students, let alone the context. Yeah, that's good. That's really good, Steve. Good one. Okay, so one and very, 2 very common emphasizing words, okay? And we'll get to the practice exercise in a minute. I'm just so excited today. I'm forgetting to turn the stream on. I'm forgetting about things I'm going to teach you. Just one of those days, I guess. Okay, so she looks worried, right? What's her problem? All right. The one chapter. Isn't this always the case? Isn't this how it happens every time? That the one chapter she didn't read was the topic for the exam essay question, right? The one chapter. Now again, you don't have to put the word one in there. It's very similar to the only chapter she didn't read. And sometimes we use the word one in a very similar way, right? The one chapter she didn't read. Jesus is saying he's lucky, yeah? All right. So this is one way to use one. All right, and yeah, Rosa, that's you. Yeah, that's me. That's everybody, I think. Yeah, and then this guy, the word very. He came face to face with the very thing he was trying to avoid. So apparently he was trying to avoid a spider, and then came face to face with the very thing he was trying to avoid. Now, in this case, very means the exact. Like the precise, that exact thing that he was trying to avoid. Interestingly enough, usually you guys use the word very as an adverb, right? Like very good, very long, very tall. But in this sentence, very is actually being used as an adjective, right? The very thing. Thing is a noun. So sometimes very is used with this kind of adjective meaning to it. Okay? The very thing Jayan wants to take is Shaun's class. Yeah, good one. All right, now you guys seem excited to practice. So let's do some practice here, okay? Yeah. Let me go into this. So some of you have already gotten the link. I'm going to go into my copy here. If you need the link, Zach can always put it back in there. What am I doing? Full screen. Okay. Kisan Mohanty says, hi, Shaun, it's my first class. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah? Cool. Yeah. All right, so practice time. It's time for me to disappear from the screen for a couple minutes and drink a little bit more coffee. I need to concentrate here. All right, so you guys have to do some work for me. I've given you 5 sentences. These sentences are grammatically correct. There's nothing wrong with them. But what I would like you to do is for each one, I want you to add one word. If you want to add more than one, you can try, but add one word to give more emphasis to these sentences. So the first one, a blue whale is a gigantic animal. Its tongue can weigh as much as an elephant. This is apparently true, yeah, although I can't prove it, but right. So add words to the sentences, give them emphasis, and then put your answers in the chat. There are only 5 of them, so I'm not going to do the first one for you. Sometimes I do that, but I'm going to make you guys do it. Somebody, Navjot's asking me to zoom in a bit. Oh, that's the other way. Yeah, I'll zoom in a bit. How about that? All right, that's about as close as I can get. Add a word to the sentences. Put your answer in the chat. Oh yeah, somebody's pointing out a mistake on my part. You're right. Get that apostrophe out of there. Man, one of those days, yeah? All right. So, add a sentence or add a word to it, and I'm getting out of here. Okay, I'm going to put the music on. put your answers in the chat. Go for it, guys. All right. Lots of good stuff coming in on the chat. Lots of good answers. And again, this is important to mention, is that because we're not talking about grammatically correct things, we're not talking about grammar, it is possible that there's more than one answer. And in some cases, it's possible to put more than one word in the sentence. Maybe 2 or 3 little words in there can make it more emphatic. So let's look at some of your answers. Lots of good stuff. Now, a lot of you said even its tongue. For the first one, Donnie D said, even its tongue. Luciano said the same thing. So the blue whale is a gigantic animal. You said, even its tongue can weigh as much as an elephant. And that's good. That's great. That word even in there is emphasis. Now, just to try to do something a little bit different, because I think even is one of these words that you're probably pretty comfortable with. You guys probably use it quite a bit. Some people, I think Selma got it. Kind of the answer, and Yaprak got it too. The answer I was kind of looking for, although even is good, to say its tongue alone. Its tongue alone can weigh as much as an elephant, really emphasizing the size of this thing's tongue, right? Which must obviously be huge. Okay, so either answer is great. Good, nice emphasis there. All right, what about B? Can you believe it? He made me feel unwelcome in my home. Now again, I think I saw some people say he even made me feel unwelcome in my home. And that's good too. But a lot of people got it as well. Navjot saying it, Yaprak got it too. Zara, yeah, you said, he made me feel unwelcome in my own home. A really common way that we emphasize something in a sentence, that word own, right? And again, really unnecessary, because of course it's your own home. It's your home, your own home. It seems what we call redundant, right? It seems almost like you shouldn't put that word in there because it's so unnecessary, but it's really common for us to do it, to add emphasis. Good stuff. All right, what about C? The day I decided to quit my job, they offered me a substantial raise and promotion. All right, so again, a couple different answers here. Sol says they even offered me, right? The day I decided to quit my job, they even offered me a substantial raise, which makes it sound like they really don't want you to go. So you say, I'm quitting, and they say, no, we'll give you a raise, we'll give you a promotion. So they even offered me a substantial raise. And that's good. That's good. But again, to do something a little bit different, and who got this one? I mean, Donnie D, I see that you got it. And I saw someone else. A few people, I think. Ravi. Yeah, good one. Ravi got it. It says, the very day I decided to quit my job, meaning that exact day. What a coincidence, right? That I worked at this job for so long, and then the exact day I decided to quit, they offer me a raise and a promotion. Again, that's just how it works in life, I guess. All right. Really good. Two more, and then I'm going to move on to something else. Jose got this one. Now D, I think most people saw this right off the bat. Jose says, interestingly enough, right? Interestingly enough, his family didn't believe him. Let's go even further with this one, all right? Now I said put one word in there, and that's great. But I'm gonna go off here. I'm gonna say, interestingly enough, his own family didn't even believe him, right? Interestingly enough, even you could even say, even his own family didn't even believe him, right? That's maybe a little bit too many evens. But again, this is a good way to add emphasis to it. Oh, and Clara saying, of course, so for this one, Clara said they offered me a very substantial raise, putting very, very there. And that's good too. Just keep in mind the difference in the part of speech, right? This being an adjective here, and this being an adverb, very substantial. And that's good, Clara. Good. All right, now for E. This one's maybe a tricky one. Now some of you, and I wasn't even thinking about this one, but you got it. You said, even though, right? Whoops. Even though he retracted his statements in a later interview, the thing he did not do is apologize to the people he had insulted. That's good. We'll leave that there. That's great, okay? Because although, though, and even though, no difference in meaning, just slightly more emphasized. Now I would say, Okay. Heatsenzel. That's hard. That's a hard word for me to, a hard name for me to pronounce. Heatsenzel. The NZ together. TV. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Help me out. Okay, but now you said the only thing he did not do, and that's great. That's good emphasis. And Ravi said that. The one thing he did not do. Now, a couple of people said maybe the very thing he did not do. I wouldn't say that because you're not saying the exact thing he didn't do. You're saying the only thing, the one thing he did not do. And this is nice. Steve is taking it up a notch. You guys are doing really well here. You're saying the one thing he did not do is apologize to the very people he had insulted. That as a teacher, Steve, Lynn, that brings one tear to my eye to see you do that, because I hadn't even considered that possibility. Good eye there, really good. And Clara came in with the one thing he did not do. That's awesome. You guys are doing really well. Cool. Okay, so we have more to talk about having to do with emphasizing. There are a few more things I want to show you today. Okay, so let's pop back into the presentation to this horrific spider. Let me just take a little drink here. I've got a cold that's been lasting for weeks. I need some vitamin C. Elena is saying, why is very people? Just to emphasize, Elena, I would say, just to emphasize who he didn't apologize to. The very people he insulted, I think, would be, it's just emphasizing it. You're not changing the meaning. That's a good question. But it's, again, just emphasizing that the people this guy insulted, he didn't even apologize to them. Okay? Good question. Okay, so keep your questions coming too. I'll try to answer them as best I can. Okay, guys? So he came face to face. Forget all this because now it's time for the mistake of the week. All right, everybody's favorite time. It is time for you guys to see if you can find the mistake. All right, so you guys know what to do. If you're new to the class, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to put a sentence up here on the screen, and I would like you guys to find the mistake. Now, I made a mistake in the exercise a few minutes ago, and you guys found it. So you guys have, you've got a good eye. You pronounce it like Hittensel. That TNC, Hittensel. All right, I'm trying my best here. Okay, so can you spot the mistake? I'm going to put a sentence up here. I'm going to pop off the screen, put some happy music on. Whoever finds the mistake first is the fastest person on the internet. All right? All right. Suresh is saying, is it similar to use very in VIP, very important person? Yeah, kind of, but very is just, in that case, Suresh, it's just an adverb. You're just making it more important, very important. Okay? All right, so here's the sentence. Find me the mistake. I'm out of here. Wow, that was the shortest little musical break in the history of my stream. You guys caught that really quickly. I'm not surprised you got it fast, because I know how smart you guys are, but I guess I thought I would trick you because I put a sentence that seemed like it was related to the topic today, right? But I just tried to trick you. I think this is what we might call that a red herring, where you follow the wrong clue. Now in this case, in this sentence, I used the words alone and enough and all of this to add emphasis to it. But you guys all found the mistake really quickly. Tranwiz is the fastest person on the internet today, followed by Selma and then Steve Lynn, Rosa, Navjot, Akesh came in after it too. Now some of you guys thought it was alone, the photograph alone was enough, but no, alone's great. Yeah, I got you, Navjot, I know. I tricked a couple people, and that's, if I trick 1 or 2 people a week, that's just enough to keep me going. It gives me a little bit of happiness there, yeah? Okay. Oh yeah, wanting to put an S on there? No, you can leave the S off. That's fine. The problem is, as you guys said, is with effect. Now this is a mistake that even native speakers make from time to time in writing, of course, is the difference between affect and effect. Obviously, in this sentence, I want a verb, and when you start the word with E, you create a noun, right? So it should be a effect, not E. E is a noun, A is the verb, okay? Clara's saying, do we have to repeat to? No, good question, Clara. So you're saying the photograph alone was enough to affect public opinion and to force the candidate? You don't have to put to there, but you can if you really want to. That's okay. Rosa is saying, can we say very, very quickly to emphasis? You mean like say very several times? You can. We do it in speech. I say definitely don't do that in an essay for homework or something, to double up on the really, reallys and very, veries. Okay? But Clara, what you're talking about there, the to with the verb here and the verb here, verbs can share the little particles and prepositions there, okay? Good question. So just be careful of the affect versus effect. I think the trickiest part is that sometimes students think that there's a difference in pronunciation between these two sounds. There is no difference in the pronunciation between effect and affect. We don't say effect or affect, we say affect, 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 affect. It's the same sound. Ravi's saying, shouldn't it be forced? Good question, Ravi. Now, you could put it in the past tense here if you wanted to, but you could also keep it in the infinitive because of this particular structure. When we say something alone was enough is going to be followed by the infinitive. Okay? The photograph alone was enough to affect. The size of the man was enough to scare me, right? So we follow it with that infinitive. Now, you could put this in the past, Ravi, if you want it to be parallel with the verb here, was. The photograph was and forced. Or it was enough to affect and force. It really depends on how you want to express yourself. Good question. Navjot's saying, yes, you have to go to work. Yeah. All right. Watch it later. Okay. Good. So the moral here just being be careful of the E and the A. How much time do we have? Oh, yeah, we got lots of time. All right. Let's learn some more stuff here. Okay. Let's talk about different ways that we add emphasis. So far, yes, Akesh is talking about parallelism. Parallelism, one of my favorite words. So reflexive pronouns. What do I mean by a reflexive pronoun? I'm talking about myself, yourself, himself, herself, ourselves, and themselves, itself. These pronouns sometimes are used to emphasize something in a sentence. Steve Lynn is saying Ravi's question is a good one. It is a very good one. Yeah. And hopefully I answered it clearly. If you guys need me to explain it further, let me know, and I'll go back to it. Okay? So reflexive pronouns. There he is, Barack Obama, looking a little bit younger there than he does now, right? He's a little bit grayer up top, I think. It's actually saying hi, 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 hi. All right. Now saying, okay, so do you know is using the word myself to say like, well, killed myself. I mean, that's not the happiest sentence, but in that case, if you say, for example, I love myself, that is not exactly what we're talking about here today, because I love myself is the object of love. That's a different use of reflexive pronouns. Here, we're not using the reflexive pronoun as an object, we're just using it to emphasize. So what am I saying about Barack here? I'm saying after the ceremony, the president congratulated the new graduates. Well, that's nice, right? But I'm going to add a little something here to make it stronger. I'm going to say the president himself congratulated the new graduates. Now, what's the purpose of adding that word there? It is just to add emphasis. The president himself, like this is it's a big deal when the president of the United States goes around and congratulates the new graduates, right? So he's not getting someone else to do it for him. He's doing it. Yeah, you're saying I myself did it. Good, right. So the president himself, I did it myself, right? This is the emphasis that we're talking about. And I think I've given you another example here. So she's saying, I got tired of asking you to paint the room, so I did it myself, right? Now in this case, you're probably not going to say by myself. Oh, we've got some Spanish in here. I'm assuming that means hello, greetings from Bolivia, and greetings from Ecuador. Yeah? Okay, so I did it myself. Now, not by myself, because by myself usually suggests that you're like alone or something, right? I did it myself. No one did this for me. I did it. I did it. You're just emphasizing it. Okay? She painted the room herself. Exactly. I painted all the house myself. Perfect. Exactly. This is a use of emphasis with these reflexive pronouns. Okay? And there's one more thing I'm going to show you today. All right? One more thing. And that's comparatives. Things like as, or the comparative adjective with than. Sometimes we use what looks like a comparison to add emphasis. Is there any particular rule for this? Oh, Selma, you really did paint the house yourself. Wow. The outside as well? I like to talk with myself, Salima says. Now that's a little bit different though, Salima, because that's kind of like the object, right? Who you're talking to. Yeah? So in this case, you're talking over here, the general particular rules for this. No, you just use this reflexive pronoun if you want to emphasize your or someone else's achievement, or if you want to add emphasis to the person, right? Again, the president himself really just emphasizes the fact that this guy is a big deal, right? He's an important fella. And painting the room myself, I mean, this sounds like she's complaining. All by myself. All right. All by myself. I mean, that's a similar thing. Yeah? And all is definitely emphasis, for sure. Okay, so let me give you a couple examples of comparatives before we run out of time. These are some good questions coming in, guys. All right. So no fewer or no less than, as much as little as, and as recently as. Now these phrases that look like I'm comparing things, I'm actually using to emphasize something in the sentence. Okay, let me show you a few examples. Okay, this guy's shopping. Maybe an upscale place, I'm not sure. It says, you can pay as much as $300 for a shirt in that store. Sorry if I'm coughing right into your mic, into the mic here, guys. So you can pay as much as $300 for a shirt. Now, in this case, what am I emphasizing? I'm emphasizing the expense of the shirt. Now, this shirt that this guy has here, a little checkered collared shirt, black and white, doesn't seem like there's anything too special about that shirt. Doesn't seem to me like you need to spend $300 for a shirt like that, right? So when you're saying you can pay as much as $300, again, this as much as phrase could be taken out. You could pay $300 for a shirt in that store, but you're emphasizing, with much, you're emphasizing the cost. You're asking if it's a plaid shirt or not. I would say this is a plaid shirt. Yeah, this one I think I referred to as checkered, because yeah, it looks like more like just a straight up checkered shirt. I can't quite tell if that's plaid. Ravi's saying $300 for a shirt is outrageously expensive. It's ridiculously expensive to get into the intensifier lesson from last week. I agree. All right. Suresh is saying, I myself did it or I did it myself are both correct. Yes. Yeah, no. Sorry, Rosa, I'm coughing in your ears. If you've got really good headphones on, I apologize. All right. So how about one more here? Though they deny the rumor that they are back together, the couple was seen together as recently as last week. I used the word together twice there. That's not a great sentence, but though they deny the rumor that they are back together, the couple, obviously some kind of celebrity couple, a Hollywood couple, was seen together as recently as last week. Now, what am I emphasizing there? As recently as, right? Maybe he lives in Dubai. Okay. In this case, as recently as is used to emphasize that it hasn't been a long time, right? I've seen her as recently as last Sunday, right? Brad and Angela, maybe I don't know if I'm talking about Brangelina. Brad and Angelina. Yeah, right. Jane is saying last week? What's your question? What's your question, Jane, about last week? As recently as last week. Oh, you were answering my question about what is being emphasized. Shekim is saying, how late are you for the class? You're pretty late, Shekim, but it's okay because you can always watch it again, all right? But yeah, we're running out of time here. Now, in this case, as I said, as recently as just shows that something has not been a long time. As much as shows that something's a lot. As little as or as few as would emphasize something is small, right? So really, the only way for you guys to be able to do this well is to practice, of course. Yeah, Luigi's showing up. Yeah, you're late, Luigi. Yeah, unfortunately, but that's okay. Get a couple minutes here. Now, we don't have time to do this together, unfortunately, because it's almost time to end class. But I'll get you guys started on it. Brad and Angelina are not seen together. Yeah, I don't think Brad and Angelina have been seen together. Yeah, sad. Okay, so sadly, we don't have time to do this together, but maybe I'll do one for you, and then you guys can do the other three on your own here. Okay, now I've written you 4 sentences, and this is in that document that you have you have the link for, right? 4 sentences, and I'm asking you to rewrite the sentence to add emphasis to it. All right, now the first one is the size of my opponent. Is that the same as mine? Yeah, right. So the size of my opponent succeeded in putting me off. All right. Just to show you what we're talking about today, I'll do one, and then the other 3 you guys can do. You can do them yourself, right? Or I should say yourselves, I guess. Okay, so the size of my opponent. I'm going to put alone in there, just to be fancy. Yeah. Alone was enough to put me off, right? The size of my opponent alone was enough to put me off. You guys, are you identifying the people in the car? You actually know who those people are? Okay, I had no idea. I have no idea who those people are. Yeah, if you know, that's great. That's great. The mere size. Oh wow, Tran is saying the mere size of my opponent. That's great. Or even you can even say the sheer size of my opponent alone was enough. And I would say, Marcello, you're doing really well there, but I wouldn't say as enough as putting me off, but was enough to put. When you're using the word enough in this structure, follow it with the infinitive. Okay? Akesh, the link, I mean, it's further back. Maybe Zach can put it in the chat again. All right? Now, here's your homework, I guess, guys. You can do these 3 sentences. And again, you can put your answers on the Facebook page, and we can go over them together. I can put the answers on the Facebook page, Learn English on Facebook, and we can go over them together. But what I want you to do is try to add emphasis to these sentences. All right? Now, sadly, I know everybody gets sad at this point, but it's time for me to jump out, right? Because time flies when you're talking about emphasizers, right? But it's time once again for us to say goodbye. I've got other stuff that I have to do with my day. My day is just getting started. I think your day is winding down a little bit, maybe. Jayan, what time is it in Korea right now? Like a 16-hour difference? Maybe it's bedtime for some of you guys. Yeah. All right, Ricardo's asking, when is the next online lesson? My lessons are every Thursday at 9 o'clock, Vancouver time. All right? 2 a.m. in Korea. Wow, that's dedication. Jayan, thanks for staying up. I know that you would have gone to bed long ago if this class wasn't happening. I'm sure you usually go to bed really early so you're fresh in the morning. All right, so yeah, my classes every week, every Thursday at 9. Everybody's welcome. 1 a.m. in Taiwan, wow. Yeah, so everybody's welcome. Tell your friends, tell your buddies, tell your family, tell your mom. Everybody can come and hang out with me for an hour every Thursday, 9 o'clock Vancouver time, okay? In the meantime, there are lots of other classes, and there's a schedule. Maybe Zach can direct you to the schedule. We've got Mark has classes. We've got Neil's classes, Nicole's classes, Josh has classes, lots of different classes for you guys to check out. Raouf is asking, what time is it in Canada? Well, Canada is such a big country that we actually have 4 different time zones, right? So it depends on where in Canada, Raouf. Here in Vancouver, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. On the opposite side of the country, where my family lives, where my mother is, it's 4 hours. It's 4 hours ahead. So, yeah, it's more like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so somebody's asking for a link where I can ask something from you. Please answer. Yeah, of course. Well, if you guys have more questions, of course, Learn English on Facebook. That's the group. Join the group. Put your questions to the group. Oh, I'm getting lots of times coming in. Right? Put your questions on the Facebook page, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. In the meantime, keep watching your classes. All those other classes, come back and join me next week. Lots of videos that you can watch as well. Keep practicing. Keep using these emphasizing words. Keep using your English, and we'll see you here next time. Okay? Because we're still talking about the time zones. Yeah. Cool. All right, I got to run, guys. It's always a pleasure. It's a highlight of my week. Try to use this stuff that we learn in class. Try to incorporate it into your use of the language so that you can make mistakes, fix the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and improve and get better. Okay? So always a pleasure. I'm out of here, gang. Until next time, see you then.